The next half hour of Freedom is dedicated to the important news of Tuesday. We'll also analyze the main topic, a new wave of Russian strikes on Ukraine. This is Our Time. I'm Mikhail Baranov. Hello. Since Monday evening, a massive combined attack by the Russian army on Ukraine has been ongoing. Air raid alerts are still active in many regions. One of the main targets is the capital in the Kyiv region. In the past night alone, Russia used dozens of ballistic, cruise, and guided missiles for strikes. They also deployed 426 attack drones of various types. As reported by the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Ukrainian air defense neutralized a total of 23 Kh-101 and Iskander cruise missiles, as well as 2 Kh-59 guided missiles. More than 300 Russian drones failed to reach their targets. Hits from 6 missiles and 27 drones were recorded at 22 locations. As a result of the attack, 2 people were killed and 12 were injured in the Poltava region. Among them is a 5-year-old child. Doctors are fighting for his life, local authorities report. Multi-story and private residential buildings, as well as a hotel and businesses, were damaged. Fires broke out. In the Sumy region, Russians hit a bus with a drone. There were no passengers in it, but the 65-year-old driver was injured. The army of the Russian Federation also attacked a civilian car with a drone. A 13-year-old boy and his father were wounded. In the Kharkiv region, Russian troops attacked a suburban train with a strike drone. 1 passenger died and the driver and his assistant were injured, the Kharkov Regional Prosecutor's Office reported. The case is classified as a war crime that resulted in a person's death. In the morning, the Russian army attacked Dnipro with drones. One of them hit a 14-story residential building. At the moment, 13 victims are known, including 3 children. Several more high-rises and kindergartens were also damaged. Natalia Gusak will tell us more about the consequences of the attack.
Vyacheslav lives on the 12th floor. He says he was at home in the morning, sorting through books. At that moment, glass started falling on him.
I have 3 rooms, and all 3 rooms were blown out.
Russian UAV hit a residential building directly. The explosion occurred right around the upper floors. A fire started there.
It exploded, shook everything. Well, my first thought was, it's very close. Turned out to be very, very close indeed.
The explosion was so strong that windows and balcony frames were blown out from the 14th to the 1st floors.
I didn't hear it coming. I only heard it when it slammed. I just managed to duck my head into my shoulders like this, and that was it. Glass showered down on me, but I was sitting further back, so only a little bit hit me, and that's it. I was so scared, of course. My hands and legs are still shaking.
In this building alone, preliminary data shows over 300 windows were blown out. Windows in several nearby kindergartens and high-rises were also damaged.
We were really scared. There was a massive explosion. The house shook just like this, and all the windows rattled. Our windows are okay, but in almost the whole building we're next door. The windows blew out. My car's fine, but the one next to it has no mirrors or glass.
As a result of the Russian attack, they're victims. Shrapnel wounds and head injuries for 2 pensioners. Both of them are in serious condition. 3 children were also injured, girls aged 12 and 9 and an 18-month-old boy. They have already received medical assistance. Damage to houses was also recorded in another district of the city.
There is damage to the property. Utility services are also working there now. There is less damage there. We are also all working on site.
Utility services and charitable organizations are working on site. They're handing out necessary materials to cover the broken windows. The police are taking reports of damaged property. Natalia Husak, Volodymyr Shtengelov from Dnipro for the Freedom TV channel.
The Russian army used multiple launch rocket systems to strike the central district of Kherson. 1 person was killed and 2 others were injured. This was reported by the Regional Military Administration. As a result of a direct hit, 2 private houses and a garage were completely destroyed. Neighboring houses were also damaged.
When it was flying, I covered myself with a blanket. I was buried because there was a strike right here, right into our garage. They said it was a missile. It blew away half the house.
1 dead, 12 injured as a result of the Russian Federation Army strike on Zaporizhzhia. The Russians attacked the city with drones and ballistic missiles. 2 drones hit a high-rise building, and another UAV dove into the private sector. In total, about 30 buildings were damaged in Zaporizhzhia. All the details are in our report.
The Russian army's attack began around 2 in the morning. According to Ivan Fedorov, head of the Zaporizhzhia RMA, Russia first launched attack drones, followed by 5 ballistic missiles. Infrastructure facilities and residential areas were under attack.
We heard it flying, grabbed the dogs, and ran into the hallway. And we managed to hide along with dogs. The dogs were very scared.
A drone crashed into the wall of this building and exploded immediately. A fire started in apartments on several floors.
When we heard the Shahed, how it whistles, and that explosion, I realized it hit our house or nearby because fire and smoke started, the smell of burning.
A blast wave blew out the windows in this building and in neighboring high-rises.
We have damage. Windows were blown out, the balcony, bedroom, living room, kitchen, the balcony and the kitchen. But thanks to our municipal services, they've already closed up the windows for us.
Residential buildings, shops, and a shopping center were damaged by Russian drone strikes. About 500 residents have already applied to the mayor's office with claims for damaged housing. At the strike sites, rescuers and utility workers are clearing debris and restoring communications. Volunteers and charitable organizations are distributing humanitarian aid to those affected.
Right now, people are coming to us for humanitarian aid, and we're also providing psychological support to those who need it.
During the day, the Russians attacked the city with drones once again. One of them exploded near one of the city's gas stations. Oleg Pritikin, Boris Yakovenko from Zaporizhzhia for the Freedom TV channel.
Another massive attack carried out by Russia highlights Ukraine's need for additional air defense systems. This was stated by President Volodymyr Zelensky. He noted that to protect the lives of Ukrainians, there should be no delays in the delivery of necessary weapons.
It is necessary to strengthen the protection of life from Russian strikes. It's important to continue supporting Ukraine. It's vital that all air defense agreements are fulfilled on time, and it's important that Europe can produce the necessary number of air defense missiles to protect against any threats.
Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, on Telegram. Residents of 6 regions of Ukraine were left without electricity due to an overnight strike by the Russian Federation. This was reported by the Ministry of Energy. Specifically, there are disruptions in the Zaporizhzhia, Odessa, Poltava, as well as Sumy, Kharkiv, and Kherson regions. Specialists are already working on restoring the power supply. The relevant ministry also reports that outage schedules will be in effect in most regions of the country until 2200 hours. In addition, the supply of electricity to industrial enterprises will be restricted until the end of the day. The government of Moldova, amid the massive Russian attack, has introduced a state of emergency in the energy sector for 60 days. Overnight strikes on southern Ukraine led to the disconnection of the main power line that provided Moldova and Romania with electricity. As President Maia Sandu stated, the situation remains difficult.
Russia's strikes on civilian energy infrastructure in Ukraine are a war crime and an attack on all of us. Overnight strikes severed Moldova's key energy link with Europe. Alternative routes exist, but the situation remains unstable. Russia bears full responsibility for this.
Maia Sandu, president of Moldova, on the social network X. On the front, the Russian army continues to suffer significant losses. 890 soldiers were eliminated by the defense forces of Ukraine in the past 24 hours alone. And the total losses of the Russian army since the start of the full-scale war already exceed 1,289,000 soldiers. These figures were released by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Also, yesterday, 6 Russian tanks, 3 armored vehicles, more than 30 artillery systems, and 1 MLRS were destroyed. Also, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces recorded 168 combat engagements over the past 24 hours. The most difficult situation is in the Pokrovsk direction. There, Ukrainian defenders repelled 34 Russian attacks. Nearly 20 assaults by Russian troops each were stopped in the Huliaipol and Kostiantinivka sectors of the front. And the enemy launched 10 more assaults on the Lyman bridgehead.
With the roads having significantly improved, they decided to intensify and escalate their actions because their infiltration tactics were and are specifically designed to achieve a slow but steady advance forward, which doesn't satisfy the Russian military political leadership, so the task is set to conduct them more intensively. And what this essentially means is that to achieve such a significant military breakthrough in advance and so on, they need to use armored vehicles, which they've been trying to do more and more frequently in recent days, ever since the 17th.
The Ukrainian Defense Forces hit a Russian Bastion launcher in occupied Crimea. As reported by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, this is a significant military target of the Russian Federation's army. After all, it's with this weaponry that the Russians launch Onyx and Zircon missiles. And Ukrainian intelligence published exclusive footage of the equipment's destruction, adding that besides the one destroyed, another bastion was damaged. The Russian army primarily uses this launcher to terrorize civilians in southern and eastern Ukraine. Russia ignores diplomacy and continues its terror against Ukraine, only because it's suffering defeat on the battlefield and cannot impose its will at the negotiating table. This was stated by Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha, commenting on the Russian army's overnight attack. The diplomat once again called on the international community for tough measures against the aggressor.
It is necessary to immediately increase the pressure on Russia. Sanctions must become tougher. The 20th EU sanctions package must be adopted. The Shadow Fleet must be put out of action. Travel bans in total isolation must be imposed on those involved in this war. Russia must not be allowed to participate in any international sporting or cultural events. Together, we must protect international peace and security through strength and decisive action. Russia will not stop on its own. It must be forced to stop. Andriy Sybiha, Ukraine's foreign minister, on the social network X.
Russia has failed to achieve any strategic goals in its war against Ukraine and is now trying to derail negotiations by making unrealistic demands. This was stated at a UN Security Council meeting by Ukraine's representative to the United Nations, Andriy Melnik. He emphasized that the Kremlin is abusing diplomacy in order to stall the peace process. But Ukraine remains committed to restoring a just peace.
Putin demands that Ukraine abandon without a fight. Putin is demanding that Ukraine surrender territories in the Donetsk region without a fight, which Moscow has failed to occupy in 12 years of aggression. By turning such ultimatums into preconditions for negotiations, as we have seen, Russia is deliberately obstructing the peace process. This is one of the most serious obstacles on the path to a peaceful settlement. Simultaneously and strategically, Russia has engineered additional seemingly unsolvable dilemmas, demanding that Ukraine hold elections as a condition for a comprehensive and final peace settlement, while refusing the ceasefire necessary to hold such elections.